In Seascape with Figures in Gold, we meet a younger Desire, cruel, arrogant, painfully self-aware, and years later, pricked with fate. It's a poetic masterpiece, a reckoning with memory, shame, and the coercive grace of those we have wronged. You lose, he says to himself in the end. In that loss, he finds something like redemption. Before going on to the story, here are a few words about one of my favorite authors, Osamu Dazai. Dazai was many things in his 39 years. The rich boy who got himself expelled from his ruling class family by associating with communists, running off with lowly geishas, allowing young women he scarcely knew to die in the first of his three love suicides, and what was worse, writing about love. The heavy drinker, warmongering, self-absorbed, weeping, whining and felt terrible, who was at odds with a state and a pompous literary establishment from the moment he appeared on the scene. The deranged drug fiend with a severe persecution complex, who was both a tireless self-promoter and his own harshest critic. The one Japanese author who could consistently turn out entertaining and worthwhile literature during late 30s and early 40s when his entire nation was towing the ideological line of militarism and fanatic patriotism. The immensely popular writer of post-war era who ended his life at the height of his popularity by jumping in the river, a neurotic, death-obsessed mistress leaving behind a impoverished wife with three young children and another mistress with a child he had never seen. It's not a pretty story, but a fascinating one, and no one tells it better than Desai himself. Desai was primarily a short story writer, though he employed an astounding variety of techniques, styles, and voices throughout his career. A good one-third of his fairly prodigious output took the form of what might be called, for a lack of a better term, autobiographical fiction. The first-person stories are fashioned out of the raw material of his life. So here is the Seascape with Figures in Gold, which is taken from a collection of short story called Self Potraits by Dazai. Since the video was getting long, I will be paraphrasing and summarizing it. I was not a very pleasant child. With this candid confession, the narrator opens a window into school behavior as a boy, especially toward OK, slow, clumsy maid who became the unfortunate target of his scorn. A dreamy nature and a awkwardness grated on him. Even as a child, he found idleness, unbearable, so much so that he once shouted, "Okay, the D is short," in mock adult authority. One day, he gave her a picture book and asked her to cut out hundreds of figures from it. It took OK the whole day, skipping the lunch, took to really snip 30. Sweating and struggling in the summer heat, she was yelled at for each mistake until the boy, became with rage, kicked her. She wept. "Not even my parents have stepped on my face," she sobbed. "I will remember this all my life." Even then, guilt brushed against him, but not enough to stop it. It was almost a compulsion to torment the dull little OK. Years, years passed. The narrator, now a man, had fallen from his family's grace, living poor and sick in small seaside home in Funabashi. They vegan, but trying to survive on his writing, he drank milk each morning and found brief solace in the stillness of blooming oleanders. Then came a visit from a census officer, a wiry man with a familiar accent. "You're Mr. Sushima's boy, aren't you?" He beamed. The man had once known the narrator's family, and then the revelation. "OK is forever talking about you." The name, like a dagger from the past, he winced at the memory. "Is she happy?" he asked with a guilty smile. The officer replied calmly, told stories about his family, his wife, his children, and promised to bring OK along with him on his next visit. Panicked at the thought of facing her, the narrator begged, "No, that really won't be necessary." But 3 days later, as he stepped out for a walk, they were there. OK, her husband, and their child, lined up like a portrait. Her daughter's vacant eyes reminded him of Ok's gaze from long ago. "So you have come," he barked, masking his shame. "I'm terribly sorry, but I've got business." He fled before OK could even say a word. He walked aimlessly into town, past movie posters and shop windows, trying to shake off the voice inside, whispering, "You lose, you lose." On returning, he found them by the sea, laughing, throwing stones. "He's going to be someday," the officer said proudly. "Of course," OK replied. "Even as a child, he was kind to the servants." Now the narrator wept, and in those tears, something released. "You lose, you lose," he whispered to himself, and I was glad of it. It was a loss that brought him peace, a humility that lit the road ahead. Thank you, end of story.